All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to CRI's second webinar in our cybersecurity series of Gone Phishing. My name is Jimmy Woodall, and joining me this morning are David Mills and Tyler Mills. We're going to go through a couple of housekeeping items here before I let the guys take over and get into the good stuff. So first thing we want to make sure we address here is the most important thing is Cpe certification. A lot of you are taking this thing for CPE credit. We want to make sure that you get that. So there will be 1 hour of IT technical CPE. You will get a certificate that will be mailed from our marketing folks within 7 days. You'll see the address there that it will come from. And we will have some poll questions that you have to answer here. It's a NASBA requirement is that you have to answer the poll questions to show that you participated in the webinar in order to be awarded CPE credit. So we'll have, I think it's 6 poll questions that we'll go through over the course of the next hour, and we want to make sure that you participate and answer all of those. I also want to add that as far as participation, if you've got questions, on the right side of your screen toward the bottom, on your control panel, there's a section there for questions, and please type in any question that you've got about what David and Tyler are going through as we go through the information today, and I will make sure that that these guys get those questions and we'll answer those for you. There's also a section there for handouts. You'll see that we got 2 handouts. One is going to be on the information that we're going through, and then another is going to be is going to relate to a future CRI webinar that we'll do about bank trends and CECL. So you want to make sure you get that and as some information for something you may want to sign up going forward. All right, let's move along. Let's talk about our presenters today. Again, kind of glorifying me here. I'm a moderator, I guess a glorified game show host here as I go through this. But my name is Jimmy Woodall. I'm the consulting service line leader here at CRI. And I just handle all the programming, I guess, related to that service line. So the guys that are really going to be doing the work today and have got all the info is first here is going to be David Mills. You'll see him. He is the partner in charge of our IT audit practice here at CRI. Great guy, knows his stuff. And joining him is going to be Tyler Mills. Somebody tells me that those guys might be related. I don't know. But again, these two head up our IT audit practice, and they're good at what they do. They got a lot of good information for us here, and so we appreciate them taking the time and putting the content together today to go through our information. So real quick, we'll talk about the 3 areas that are in this series. The first one was part 1. That we did. It was how did social engineering begin and evolve, and that was one we did back in the fall. If you missed that series, you can go to our website, cricpa.com, and there's a section called resources on the website there that's got a drop down menu, and you can get old webcasts we've done, and you can check out the part 1 of the series. Again, today what you see here is that we're going to do the different types of social engineering and why do people still fail in their testing of that. Also, you can put on your calendars in April, I believe April 27th. Don't necessarily hold me to that, but I know it's going to be in April. We're going to do part 3. We'll send out some advertising on that as well to let you know the exact date, but part 3 of the series will be coming up here in a few months. So with that, I think I think that takes care of all the housekeeping items. I want to turn it over to David.
Well, thanks, Jimmy. I want to say good morning to all my fellow hunker downers there, and I hope you guys are staying warm. It's pretty cold where we are. I hope you got a nice, good hot cup of coffee to not only stay warm but stay awake. So, without any further ado, I will get started on this webinar here. So, if you remember, we're going to kind of reflect back a little bit on part 1, but not too much. We want to make sure that that you guys are getting sort of the full start to finish social engineering training that really I think will help you in the long run be a whole lot better off from being able to see something and understand what it is and if it's a social engineering attack and don't fall for it. So, with doing that, we kind of need to understand the mechanisms of an attack. Well, there's a few mechanisms that are used for social engineering. One of them, obviously, is online, and I think we all know what those are. We'll talk about those in detail. Another one that is still quite popular is the phone and actual voice from a human being, hopefully with the credentials to actually be a social engineer. You should be able to recognize those without those credentials pretty quickly. Then we've got the human part of this, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, because that's an area that we don't really get into, but it is oftentimes the beginning or sets the stage for an attack. And then we've got some passive attacks that you may not have thought about, but we want to go over today so you won't fall victim to those. If you remember from part one, social engineering is really all about some type of communication. It's about somebody's ability to trick you into providing information that you should not provide, or sensitive information. And obviously, we've got this one-on-one communication that we have. You know, that can be email. We've obviously got phone. You can be socially engineered through fax. You can even be socially engineered through chat. That's quite often the case on social media. The two areas that I added this time were observation and paper. So observation, what I mean by that is, what you're doing, when you're doing it, and can people see you doing it without you being aware of them actually observing you. And then the other's obviously the paper that can be sent to you saying there's some type of new product or something like that, and point you to a website for you to go to, and then that website actually be malicious code. So just bear in mind, we've added a couple of these communication types when we started talking here about the methodologies. So, the prevalence of social engineering, everybody knows it is not going anywhere. It is literally the number one way to breach a network. It's much easier to do than to try to break through a firewall. Honestly, as I've said before, those firewalls and intrusion detection systems have gotten pretty doggone good. And so this is a very easy way to do this. The Semantic Security Response Center has said that bad guys are really not trying to exploit Windows anymore. They're trying to exploit you. They want to bypass that initial section of barriers to get inside your network. Obviously, this opens it up to a lot more people, because they don't have to have as many technical skills if you're willing to actually open up an attachment or something like that that's already got the technical tools contained in it. So really, one interesting fact is only about 3% of the malware that Symantec sees is really trying to exploit some sort of a flaw. The other 97% is literally trying to trick you into doing something that you shouldn't do. So with that, we're going to open it up to our first poll question. Remember, you need to answer these poll questions to get your CPE credit. So Jimmy, I'll let you take over here and launch that first poll question.
All right. Okay. Which of these is a mechanism for social engineering? Is it human-to-human interaction? Is it malware? Is it Windows patches? Or is it all of the above? And we'll give everybody a few seconds to answer that before we close it and discuss the answer.
How's that looking, Jimmy?
It's coming in slow. We got a lot of folks on the webinar today, so it may take a few seconds for everybody to answer, and we want to give everybody a chance to get those answers in so they can get their CPE credit. It's just a few more minutes, a few more seconds rather. All right, looks like we've got about everybody who's going to answer.
Let's see those results.
Here are the results here, and it looks like a little bit of split, but it looks like 59% said all of the above.
Tyler, where does that leave us?
So the way this question this question's a little bit is a little bit tricky, because most people uh, like to hit, all of the above. So probably just hit that thinking it was. Anyway, the human-human interaction is the correct answer. So 33% of 33% of people got that right. What we were looking for is the way in which social engineering occurs. Malware and Windows patches can be a way that vulnerabilities are exploited after a social engineering attack or as part of one, but they're not necessarily a mechanism for social engineering itself.
Good deal. Thanks, Tyler. All right, Jimmy, we'll move on here, or we'll try to move on. Okay. Sorry, having a little difficulty getting to the next slide, but here we are. Okay, so our first, the first thing we want to talk about is obviously general phishing. As we've said before, it is the easiest and most cost-effective method for a cyber attack. And it really doesn't necessarily mean that when that phishing is coming from, you look and see who it's coming from, that it's going to be from a crazy domain like, attacker.com. It's very easy, almost trivial now to spoof a domain, even to the point that it may even be the exact domain, but little things like swapping out a 0 for an O or an uppercase L, or for a lowercase L, or a V for a U, that kind of thing, or even just simply adding, an S to the end of a domain name. That's the way that we get fooled, because one of the first things that we've all been taught to do is take a look at who it's from and see if it looks legitimate. So maybe take a little closer look at who it's from and make sure that those domain names, are certainly what you're expecting. But then again, be careful even on those. If you're not expecting, an attachment or something like that, always a good idea to pick up the phone. So this next section that we want to talk about here is spearfishing itself, and these are the ones that probably have the most success rate. The folks that are doing spearfishing obviously do a lot of research on their victims. They can target people specifically, knowing additional information, and it's all about making this pretext more believable, so that when you actually are looking at the email, it makes sense. That's why we always caution everybody, be careful what you put on social media, especially if you're in a position where people will follow instructions from you. If you're loading a lot on social media, it makes attackers that want to spoof your email a whole lot more believable if they know more about you when they craft that email. One of the breaches that we look at is this Lastpass breach, and really it was all about email addresses being stolen. Now, the email addresses alone, you would think, well, okay, so it's email addresses. But the thing about this is it literally clarifies that all of these email addresses are Lastpass users, or at one time were Lastpass users. So if you think about it, it makes it pretty easy or pretty trivial to send out emails and saying, hey, we've had a security breach and you need to change your password. You craft the email where it looks just like it's from LastPass. You create the landing page, for LastPass for them to put their password change in, and boom, it's done. They now have your password. The thing about it is they can make a cover, a little bit of a cover website where it will even pass it to LastPass. So they're very tricky and very difficult to really recognize. But you've got to understand that when people are asking you to put your password in or change your password, be very skeptical of that. I would never actually click on a link from anywhere that asked me to change a password. I would always go to the site by itself and then change the password from there. So this is a very common phishing attempt. It's something that most social engineers utilize. They make it look like something that you would expect, and be very cautious of these. Just don't give your password away unless you know that you're giving it to the right person or the right company. So with social media, that really should always be a zero trust environment. If you remember from last session, we talked about, if it's convenient and simple, it's probably not very secure. Well, social media is designed to be simple. If you think about it, it is literally trying to be so simple that even the most technologically challenged folks can use it. So you take, for example, a friend that you may know sends you a link to an album, of vacation photos or conference photos, and you click on that to download them. Well, the problem is they may actually be from somebody else, where your friend's email and user account has been compromised. Happens all the time. And so when you click on those, it's actually downloading malware, onto your computer. And there you go. You've been breached, once again. Tyler, I was wondering if you had anything, you wanted to add into the social media side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a little more active in social media than
Than
Dad
I am.
is. Yeah. So the thing to take away from social media, that zero trust environment, is a really important point, because most normal folks are not quote unquote verified on social media. So if you're on Twitter, or I think Facebook is doing it now, but they'll have the check mark that says, hey, we've done some investigating. This is the person who they say they are. And it's pretty easy just to create a fake Facebook or Twitter account pretending to be someone that you may know. But there are some classic examples of social engineering that don't require a fake account. They just require them to go viral, to put it out there and have your friends or family do it. One great example is every now and then on Facebook you'll see like a viral quiz go around. So it'll say like, okay, well, what were your first 7 jobs, or what are some random facts about you? Like what was the first street, stuff that you would typically answer and really think nothing of it. But as a matter of fact, it's part of confirming your identity. Like if you're doing a credit check or something, normally they will ask you questions like that, and that's why you'll see those go viral. I also see people post their real phone numbers on Facebook, especially if they're trying to like buy something on a listing. And that's a pretty good way for people to get that information. And then of course, like David said, the links that come through from your friends. A lot of times you'll see, most people I think are pretty good at spotting it now, but one of your friends will have like a post that says, wow, what a crazy deal on these Ray-Bans I got, and you'll click through to that and it'll ask you for your Facebook credentials, and then you're breached. So it's really important to not try your best not to take anything on social media without a pretty big grain of salt. For that stuff's pretty easy to fool.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tyler. Great examples there, and he's right. I don't participate in social media quite as much as he does, but it's absolutely a way to get breached through social engineering. So the next aspect we want to talk about is phishing. Well, phishing is literally just phishing by phone. You'll see this. You'll see this quite often. Folks will give you a call. They'll say that your computer's been breached or something like that. They may be pretending to be a help desk operator. That kind of thing. They may play on fear. They may have try to get login information. May try to get your social security number. And let me tell you, these things have made a big comeback. I don't know about you guys, but about 5 or 6 times a day, I'll get phone calls that come from a local area code because that's so easy to spoof now. And sometimes, they may even look like like a number I'm used to seeing, but the prefix will be wrong. So I know good and well that everybody's getting these. They're not only are they aggravating, but these are that's what this is trying to do, is trick you into answering that phone call. And in a lot of cases, they're going to be social engineering attacks. So just be aware, those are on the rise and very prevalent. So with that, Jimmy, how about launching another poll question so they can get credit for this?
All right. Which of these is a type of phishing which is specific to a single user? Is it A, Phishing, B, Trojan horse, C, spearfishing, or D, lookalike domains?
I can feel the tension in the audience right now trying to get those
I can
answers
as well,
correct.
yes.
I guess we could start offering virtual prizes.
I guess we could. I did get, there are a few questions that are popping in, not related to our content, but comments about the first webinar that we did in the series. Is that available to the viewers? And we mentioned it, but I want to draw attention to that again to make sure everybody's getting it, is that the first one is if you go to our website, cricpa.com, and then the resources tab, there's a place where there's a drop down menu and you can look at all of the previous webinars that we've done and multiple types of webinars, not just these, but that's there. So you can look at that one if you missed the first one. All right, looks like we've got just about everybody in, so I'll go ahead and close and show the results.
Sounds good. All right,
All right,
Tyler, what does this look like for us?
It's pretty good. Spearfishing, 65%. That is the correct answer. We'll get deeper into specific types of spearfishing as we go today, but spearfishing refers to actually doing some research on a person in order to fool a specific person, rather than just kind of casting a wide net like a phishing, quote unquote, might be. Is usually, hey, your car or a robot telling you that your car insurance is about to expire. Or car warranty is about to expire. That's probably the biggest one. So that's not really spearfishing. Trojan horse is a type of virus, so that's not spearfishing. Lookalike domains is also what we would call a passive attack. So it wouldn't be specific to a single individual or company. So that one, and we'll talk more about that one also. So overall,
Good deal. Thanks.
pretty good.
Good deal. Thanks, Tyler. All right. All right, so let's talk just real quickly about the human methods. I just want to say that not all social engineering attacks come through an email. A prelude to an attack can really be some reconnaissance or some human methods of social engineering. So this is where you see folks maybe take a false identity, like a contractor or some sort of a fake employee. Maybe even somebody posing as a delivery person or pickup person. And what they're trying to do is to try to gain some access into the physical network, of the victim themselves, and try to maybe even put things in place like a small thumb drive that's connected to a communications closet switch, or even leave things at the break room, leave them in the parking lot. A lot of ways to actually try to exfiltrate data, from those types of things where a human is involved just simply to initiate the tax. So be careful with these folks, and always ask if you're not sure about why somebody's here. What just you don't have to be impolite, but you can certainly ask, to show some credentials, or wait here for a minute till I verify this, that kind of thing, because this is a big problem, especially on large scale attacks. It will absolutely be the prelude to those types of things, and the more footholds they can get into the network, the better off they are to complete their actual attack and breach. So this same human attack really goes along with this thing called tailgating or piggybacking, and you kind of think, oh, well, I'm never going to let that happen, or, I don't normally do that. But especially in larger environments, it happens all the time. A lot of times folks will if they have access to the break room, or even a lunch general common lunch area that may not even be part of the company. These social engineers may go sit in there every day and have lunch or a cup of coffee to make it appear that they're part of this company. And so they may target a couple of folks in that break room or lunchroom as the piggyback victim, and make sure that they're seen. They may come by and accidentally drop something or something like that to draw attention, from their victim. And then they'll, simply wait for their opportunity and say, follow in right behind and say, oh, I left my badge. Would you mind letting me come in? You've seen them in the lunchroom. You've seen them in the, in this break area, and you automatically assume they're actually part of the company when they're not. Constantly folks delivering and dropping off packages, and obviously they're interacting with unaware users. Now, I'm sure that there are social engineering attacks that would be well funded, that may have trucks and uniforms. But you're always hearing about social engineering attacks where somebody's gone to a thrift store, bought an old uniform, and made those types of breaches occur. In addition, what we see a lot of times when we're in a large town and in a very large office building, one of the controls is that the swipe cards to get in the elevators prevent people from going to floors that they're not supposed to go to. We see that all the time, where you'll step in the elevator, somebody will swipe the card, look at you, and say which floor, and and they'll punch the button for you. So it's real easy to say, I forgot my badge, or I'm late for a meeting, would you mind? And unfortunately, we'll fall for that, quite often, just trying to be nice and polite to folks. So, if we talk about this malicious insider thing, and this is social engineering by somebody that is inside the company now, or has previously been inside the company. These are called insider threats. And it was funny, I was looking at a survey, and I realized this is 2015, but I'm sure it holds true today. But 21% of current or former employees use social engineering somehow to gain a financial advantage, maybe even plot revenge against a company. They are able to use social engineering based on their general curiosity, or even just for fun. Social engineering utilizing your social media, it is a big deal. It's oh, guess who we're both up for promotion, and hey, guess what I saw on so and so's social media page that wasn't very flattering. These are areas that are significant, and and literally can be detrimental to folks if you're in the running for promotions with other folks, or even just general security for the inside of the company itself. So you want to be very careful about that. What they're doing is they may remove company information. They may start downloading email lists, which is fairly easy to do using common email tools, and selling them to a competitor or a hacker. They can use some confidential information for leveraging into a new job, or even moving to a better position within the company. And then when they leave the company, they may actually pull confidential information, to later use for some malicious purpose. So insider threats are real, and it is a type of social engineering. So again, you sort of do the same things for insider threats that you do for any other social engineering. You just use caution where you post information or where you provide information to. So again, this is very prevalent, more prevalent than you would think. All right, one more quick poll question here, Jimmy.
Okay. All right, which is an example of tailgating? Is it leaving a key card in the break room? Is it posting your work schedule online? Is it accepting a calendar invite from an unknown source? Or is it allowing someone to follow behind through a secure door? And we'll give everybody a little bit to answer that. We've also got a question that's come in. I'll float to you guys kind of while we got the downtime waiting on folks to answer here. And I don't,
Sure.
we'll see if you can help them out. But we got somebody whose spouse, the spouse has dementia, gave out their social security number on the phone, and someone filed for unemployment using the spouse's social security number. This person filed an identity theft affidavit, form 14039, and want to know what else can they do.
I will tell you, the first thing I would do is freeze my credit. That's something, with all three credit agencies, that's something that is much easier to do nowadays because of some recent breaches to those credit agencies. So, freezing that credit is as simple as going on each of those three credit agencies' websites. Freeze the credit. It is also very easy to unfreeze that credit. If you, let's say you want to apply for a car loan or something, you can unfreeze it for a period of time, 1 day, 2 days, 30 days. And that's probably one of the things that I've read, that according to my research and what I've read, that's a really good way, if you've had your social security number breached, to prevent opening credit cards in your name and things like that. So certainly that would be the first thing I would do.
All right. Thank you for that. With that, we'll go ahead and close down the poll question we got, and we'll share the results there. And looks like 92% said allowing someone to follow behind through a secure door.
That is correct. Tailgating is most often allowing someone to enter a secure area allowing someone else to enter a secure area using your badge, credential, whatever it is. Most places that I will say that most places that actually have this, where it could be a problem, have pretty specific policies, procedures, training, etc. Against this action. But we still do see it, and it's a pretty good way to prey on someone's wanting to help other people.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a little bit about that psychology here in just a few minutes. So want to talk just real quickly about some passive attacks. Well, the passive attacks really are kind of, you can think about them as when social engineers just sort of wait and watch. A lot of times we'll call it shoulder surfing. But nowadays with the phones and the capability in the hands of bad guys with these phones, you can play out other scenarios like watching you enter a PIN and then taking a picture of your credit card. Well, if they've got that, they've pretty much got you. And so that's why you see these PIN shrouds and covers, even though it makes it difficult to put the PIN in oftentimes. That's what they're for, is to try to prevent this shoulder surfing. And so, we're not concerned today with people pulling their cameras out, taking pictures of anything. I mean, I know that we used to laugh at we'd go to a restaurant and we were amazed at the number of people that were taking their phones out, taking pictures of their food. Which was always kind of laughable to me, but they do it. And so seeing someone with a phone out acting like they're taking a selfie when the camera's turned around and they're taking a picture of your card, is not unusual to us. And so they can take pictures of those cards anywhere, observe you putting that PIN in, which is a 4-digit code, fairly easy to remember. And they've got that card information to really pull off a pretty significant breach, especially to you personally. So these things that we talk about, shoulder surfing, looking at what you're doing, what you're keying in to get into a place or to do something. Very real attack. So use caution when you're doing this. Make sure that you're blocking the view, quite often, and You know, sometimes you'll see folks, you know, even cover use their other hand to cover that pin pad. So be careful with this. This is a type of social engineering attack that can affect you personally, financially. So Tyler, did you have any more comments on passive attacks? I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of to weigh in here. I thought I remembered you saying something about this.
Sure. So the passive attack, you know, we're gonna, the next slide is actually where we're gonna kind of
Let me get there.
talk about what I thought was an important point as far as a passive attack is concerned. That's malicious websites or lookalike domains is what they'll be called sometimes. So in the example here on the slide, it's basically it's the new pop-up. You know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was all about the pop-up blockers and closing pop-ups, etc. That doesn't really happen anymore. And most of the time, what happens is either it'll open up a new tab in your browser, or just redirect the tab that you're in and give you. Sometimes it'll even make a loud noise, which is very annoying. But it'll say, you know, your Java's out of date, your Adobe's out of date. You need to click on this link and download something or something like that. And it's pretty effective. But one of the really big ones that people don't, I think catches a lot of people and people don't really think about are these lookalike domains. And one I've been kind of thinking about lately, a good example of that would be a landing page. If you're if you're at a hotel, people will, you know, you'll connect up to their Wi-Fi. The first thing that happens is it'll pop up and ask you for some information to make sure that you're actually staying where you're staying at the hotel, or ask for your, you know, loyalty information or something like that. And people don't really think twice about that, making sure that that is legitimate. But it's very easy, in the same way that the hotel has the capability to make that pop up right when you connect to their Wi-Fi. An attacker could just as easily set up a fake Wi-Fi hotspot in that hotel. If you connect to the wrong one, they'll pop up a similar style page. So you want to make sure that you're connecting to when you're in a hotel or in a public Wi-Fi setting. You're going to want to make sure that you connect directly to the specific Wi-Fi network that the place that you're at gives out. So it'll normally be, you know, at a coffee shop, it'll be written on a chalkboard somewhere, or at a hotel, they'll give it to you on a card of some kind or something like that. But you really want to make sure that you're on the right one there, because that's a pretty easy attack.
Yeah, agreed. You know, and one of the things that I was thinking about, Tyler, is, you know, once they capture you and you're where they connect to, this even can be used to defeat that public key infrastructure with a certificate. So so that makes it even more dangerous.
Yes, that's true. Now there's it is once you're connected to their network and you're passing traffic through them, it's pretty easy to break that chain of trust. So even if they do eventually let you out to the internet, that there could be some traffic sniffing going on that could be detrimental as well. That's true.
Good deal. Yeah. So bottom line here is make sure you know what you're connecting to, and if you don't know, then don't connect to it. So use big caution there.
Also, to go back to a little more what this slide actually says, it's very unlikely. It's almost, I would say, it's not going to happen, but it's very unlikely that you would just get a pop-up inside of your browser that says, hey, your Java and Adobe is out of date. Please click on this to update it. Most of the time you would get that from there'd be a separate application that is to update that stuff. But if you're ever in doubt, you know, always don't click on anything you're not sure of, I guess would be the takeaway. Make sure you discuss it with IT support or somebody that you think would know or you can trust before you start clicking on stuff like that and downloading.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you know, go again, this is similar to where somebody's asking you to put your username and password in. Go or update your password. You know, go to the site that actually that it is referencing to do that type of thing. So, you know, go to Adobe. Don't click on the link and especially on your personal devices, and just click on the link and assume it's from Adobe. You know, stop what you're doing, go directly to Adobe, and then get the update from there. All right. So with that, another quick poll question for our CPE credit. So Jimmy, you want to get that rolling?
All right. Which is an example of a passive attack? Is it posting your work schedule online? Is it phishing? Is it lookalike domains? Or is it human-to-human interaction?
And what's kind of ironic is I'm sitting here looking at a silenced call from my area code with a different prefix but with a number that I am familiar with. It happens all the time.
It's the phone stuff's truly a nightmare. It's getting to be where it's about like email. It's almost, you can't even really use it
Almost
anymore.
unusable. Yep.
Got a question that's come in related to,
All right.
window pop-ups. So if you get a window pop-up, do you just close the window?
Me personally, or am I giving advice to people?
I would say, are you giving advice
I would
to
say
people? And I would
advice.
hope you would follow your own advice.
Curious George there.
It depends on the situation. So if you're on, I would say if you're on any if you're on anything connected to a corporate network, or if it's a corporate owned a corporate owned piece of equipment, then you may want to at least maybe try to take a screenshot or do something to gather some kind of evidence so you can show it to your show it to the administrators. If you're on your phone and something pops up and it's just your personal phone, then you could probably ignore it safely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just don't click on it.
Yeah, don't download anything, but
Yeah.
it's but you should be able to pretty safely
that is
ignore
a hard one. Yeah, that is hard. How do I close something if it pops up? One of the things that I do, if something pops up that I was not expecting, I will close the whole browser. I won't just close the window. I will go to the browser setting and close the entire browser and start again. All right, how'd we do on this one?
All right, looks like 66% said lookalike domains.
Yep, that's right. So posting your work schedule online is not really an attack. It's just something that you shouldn't do, and information that people can use. Phishing is not passive because it requires someone actively calling you. Lookalike domains are just kind of set it and forget it attacks, which falls under the definition of a passive attack. And then again, human-human interaction is requires an action. So 66% are correct on this one.
Good deal. All right, so we want to kind of get to the really risky portion of this, and this is that we talked about it really in the first session a little bit. This patient, internet social engineer. This is the engineer that's not only maybe technically savvy, but really is a true con man. And these people will spend months, sometimes years, preparing for their attack. These are not just folks in their basement. I mean, we're talking about, oftentimes really full-blown companies that are set up to do this. They're always, in most cases, driven by some sort of a large reward or some personal, maybe even political agenda. So this is the real deal here. This is something that is very difficult to see. And very difficult to not be fooled by. So it's really well thought out. It has a really valid pretext, and it is quite often very successful in what they do. So again, beware of this patient social engineer, and it's so important that we decided that we'd do a poll question about it. So Jimmy, you want to launch that?
All right. Why is the patient social engineer successful? Is it they prepare for several months? They have a valid pretext? Their attacks are often very targeted, or all of the above?
And Jimmy, one of the things I did want to mention while we're waiting on answers here is these are the attacks that could be crime syndicates. This is unfortunately we've gotten to the point now that stealing information and money from the internet is a very real thing that has gone beyond just the Nigerian prince that needs some help. You know, it's super sophisticated. You know, it is well thought out, and these, you know, these can fool even some of the best security folks, you know, out there. So just you know, just be very aware of this.
All right.
All right.
Look at our results here. 90% said all the above.
Technically everyone here is right, but the most correct answer is D, all of the above. They do all three of those things in order to perform a successful patient social engineering attack. The big ones, of course, being having a valid pretext. That one is very important to make that work. And then of course the preparation that they do, but yeah, D is correct.
Good deal. All right, so we want to talk a little bit now with our time left. You know, why is it we keep continuing to fail these social engineering exercises? You know, and I've stopped being amazed. I used to say I was amazed by the amount of failures that we get, you know, even after we've done a social engineering exercise, you know, for the last 4 or 5 years. Well, you know, it really is always going to be our most dangerous, because, you know, the weakest link in our security is always, you know, the person at the keyboard. You know, these social engineering attacks are really part of some psychological manipulation of people. So, you know, you're trying to fool somebody that's unsuspecting, you know, into basically handing over some confidential or sensitive information. And so why do we keep failing? So if you think about that, you know, we've got some psychological factors that are really commonplace, and you'll see these, and we've got some examples of these. So, you know, the social engineer will always try, not always, but one of the main tools that they'll use is to provide some sense of urgency. You know, like you've got to do this, you know, before we close today, and you've gotten an email at 4:45 and you close at 5, so you've got 15 minutes to get it done. One of the huge factors is fear, and we want to talk about that one, you know, pretty well in depth. Reciprocity, you know, we tend to, you know, return a favor, you know, so if we get some, you know, like when we get free samples from marketing, you know, we'll tend to give them a little information for those free samples. You know, if we, you know, if we buy something online and we like it, we're willing to take a survey. You know, social proof is another concept where people actually will do what they see other people doing. So, you know, if it's something that you're hearing about from a colleague, or you're seeing other people do online, a lot of times you'll do it. That's where this viral thing comes into place, or into play. Authority, that factor is very real. It comes from people, you know, in authority, board members, CEOs, you know, C-suite individuals. You know, we tend to want to make sure that we're doing what those people ask us to do. And a lot of times we'll do it without thinking about, is this really something they would ask us to do? Obviously, another tool here is this liking. You know, we're easily persuaded by other people. If they like something, we'll tend to do it as well. And then this scarcity, you know, like only one left, only 2 left. You'll see this all the time on Etsy if you're buying something, you know, just always using these types of things. And one of the things that strikes me is you'll see the same social engineering techniques that are used by this social engineering are used by the actual folks that do commercials and try to sell us something. So same kind of scenarios, and that's why, you know, they're so successful. The fear factor, though, is one that I've seen time and time again catch people. You know, you've got some kind of IRS, you know, either a refund or they owe you money, you know, or you owe them money, something like that. And they're, you know, they're telling you to download something like a Word file. You know, they can be ransomware, and then every connected device, you know, becomes compromised. And so this fear factor from groups like IRS, the sheriff, the police department, really are pretty prevalent, these days in scaring people into doing something. And then, there's this adult website extortion, with a couple of those breaches that occurred a few years back. They try to say that they're on some kind of a list, and they're going to expose them if their demands are not met. And so folks, tend to get scared about this, whether even if they've not been guilty of any of it. So, so it's a very real thing for to use fear as part of this social engineering, and it is a strong motivator, to actually reply to these types of things. Court notice to appear. We've seen that where it's coming from a law firm. I think one of the ones I got was from a Baker McKenzie. Who knows if that's real, but they're always saying you've got this, you got to appear in court. You got to click this link to view a copy of the notice. You click it, malware's downloaded, and you're breached. One of the ones that are out there, there's an active warrant for your arrest. Again, just trying to catch this fear factor, and understanding how strong that motivation to utilize that is. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples here, of an SMS attack, and sort of give you some examples of some urgency. So you guys, everybody out there may have gotten you've got a FedEx package waiting for you to get your delivery method set up. Click here. Or tap here, and boom, your phone's been breached. So SMS attacks are usually use some sense of urgency or something like that, but they're pretty prevalent. Tyler, do you see these often?
Yeah, actually more and more, because you're more likely to believe this because there's no way to recognize it as something that you're not that you wouldn't normally talk to. So like if you get a call about your car warranty being expired, it's pretty obvious that for most people it's pretty obvious that that's not true. But here it could just, because a FedEx package in the similar text messages that this would come from a number you don't recognize anyway. This could potentially happen in real life. So it's I would say it's more effective than the call. It's a little more difficult to get this out than it is to robocall, but yeah, these are for sure on the rise. I try not to give my phone number out, or try not to get text message alerts for this reason, but
yeah, absolutely. That's another reason not to post your phone number online and in the social media world. So these are pretty common, and just be aware. Don't fall for the sense of urgency or your curiosity, something like that. If you get one of these, obviously, go to the FedEx website itself, and enter the tracking code and see if it's actually something that's real. So, just be very careful with these SMS attacks. They are on the rise, and heaven forbid you get your phone compromised. That is a big deal. So let's talk about an example of reciprocity. And I can imagine everybody in this webinar has seen this. Congratulations, you've got $1,000 Amazon gift card that's reserved for you. Well, that's a sense of reciprocity. You want to click here to help them out because they're going to give you $1,000 card. But they also have this sense of urgency. You've got a certain, and this thing will count down for you. You've got a certain number of minutes and seconds to claim this prize. So don't be fooled by reciprocity or this sense of urgency. I can assure you that a lot of folks have sent this or have seen an example of this. This looks like it's coming from Wells Fargo. But if you look at that link, if you were to hover over it, and I don't recommend doing this, don't hover over it. You can see it's certainly not from Wells Fargo. Go to your account if you have an account with Wells Fargo, and absolutely go directly to that account, and answer or to look for any kind of information that this fake email or website is trying to get from you. All right, with that, we're going to have our last poll question. Jimmy, you want to knock that out real quick?
I will. All right. What is one of the most effective tactics in social engineering? Is it A, fear or urgency? Is it B, flattery? I like that one. Is it C, a fake website, or is it D, a Facebook message?
And we all know how to hack Jimmy now. Let's just tell him
That's
how
right.
good looking he is.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously though, this is, and this should prompt you guys when you're trying to say, am I being socially engineered or not? If it's asking you something that's trying to generate some fear or a sense of urgency, a lot of times it's going to be, a social engineering attack. So that's going to be one of your big clues. Just don't fall victim to it.
Yeah. Hey, once we go through the results of this, David, we've got a couple of questions that have come in too. I want to make sure.
Happy to try to answer those.
Yep, and we are running out of time, y'all. Don't forget to keep looking at the clock.
Yeah, there's that emergency.
All right. Okay, looks like we got about everybody in. Share our results. And 94% said fear or urgency.
It's very good. Very good. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
All right, Jimmy, you want to try to, let's say maybe answer a question?
Yeah, we got a couple here. So it says, if someone asks you to open the gate for them or something similar, what's the best response so that you avoid the malintent?
Well, if it requires a badge, just say, I personally would just say, I'm so sorry. I don't know you personally. And you have to have a badge to get in. And then, kind of move on.
I will say that a lot of places, I don't mean to interrupt, but I will say that a lot of places will have, like I said before, if you work in a situation where this is even a possibility, a lot of places are going to have an acceptable use, something that you sign saying that you're not going to do that. So the best response that I've seen is, hey, I'd love to, but if I get caught, then I'm in trouble and I'm on the hook for it. So you really need to use your own badge if you can.
Yeah. And of course, you can always add the line that says, I'll send security out here to check on you.
Sure.
Or just say, David Mills told me not to.
Yeah. There you go. That'll work.
Just say you heard it on a webinar and then walk away. They'll be confused.
They're very confused.
Yeah.
All right. Jimmy, we got another question?
Yeah, we do have another question. So if ransomware comes into a local computer, will it also affect OneDrive if one has an automated sync of backup files? Is this what you meant by connected drive?
Tyler, I'm gonna let you field that one.
Yeah, it can. It depends on how the syncing is put together. But if it is mounted as a readable, writable drive on the local machine, yes, it will.
Yeah, and that's a great question to kind of let you know. Our third and last session on this is responding to if you've fallen for a breach. So that and we will definitely address that question, as part of that third in the 3-part series.
Yeah, the big risk, that is actually the big risk of a ransomware attack, is you're connected to a shared folder of some kind and the malware gets out that way. But yes, OneDrive, Dropbox, any kind of cloud syncing that you might be doing are subject to that. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Jimmy, any more questions?
That's all we got.
All right. Well, I guess let's say I'm going to turn it back over to you guys and let you talk a little bit about the upcoming webinars.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate both of you guys' time. As Tyler mentioned, we're about out of time, but we did want to put in a spot here for an upcoming webinar that we've got. If you guys are interested, particularly for those of you that might be in the banking sector, this is on bank trends and CECL. We've got that coming up, and you can see where you can sign up for that information there. I would also encourage you, again, you can check out our podcast. You can see that we got a lot of good information that we put on there, a lot of good topics. And check us out at social media and our website, cricpa.com, if you got any questions. Again, there's a handout in your handout information. There's a section there on the bank trends upcoming webinar as well, if you want to look at that. You got the slides there, the information that was part of this. Hope everybody got some good information today, and we thank everybody for your participation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.